Hey everyone, welcome back to another LEGO video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a custom set of the upcoming Ninjago Shuricopter. This is my take on the set. Obviously it's not part for part, but it is pretty similar, and of course it's based off the same concept as the Shuricopter. And so there's a lot of similarities, but there are also some slight differences as well. So if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe, support my channel, and like the video if you guys do enjoy it. And I do actually have two more Season 11 custom sets coming out later this month, or at least before the actual sets release. So make sure to stay tuned if you guys want to see those, and of course subscribe to get notified for that. And with that, let's just get right into the review of this custom Shuricopter. So taking a look at the Shuricopter, we can see up front here, you've got some pretty interesting techniques overall to kind of enclose the cockpit of this thing, and there's some studs on the side techniques up here on both sides of the cockpit that actually allow you to connect a bunch of plates, and also this flag piece that you can use to sort of angle and shape the front of the helicopter. Now, up in the front you can see there are these cleavers, which are really just primarily for detail, although you can move them out of the way and actually open up the windscreen and get into the cockpit so you can place Zane in there to actually pilot the helicopter. You can see that the cockpit itself actually has quite a nice seat in there, which is something LEGO generally doesn't do. And you can see there's just a hinge piece to actually sort of slope the back of the seat up. Inside the helicopter, there really isn't much, but there is actually a crate in there, which you can't get to, so sadly it's just kind of stuck in there. But at least there's something in the helicopter, and there's actually some space inside, which is surprising because of the main play feature that I'll get to in just a second. Moving along the side of the helicopter, you can see there are these, I guess what you would call wings. Don't really know what to call these, because they're not really wings. The wings are sort of more the pieces at the bottom. But anyway, they sort of really frame the entire helicopter, and they give the sort of aggressive look that you get with this helicopter. Now, in the actual set, these sort of side wing pieces, the ones on the actual set are more just horizontal, which is a little bit of an interesting thing there, and that is one of the things that I said that I sort of made some changes to just for personal preference, I guess. Moving down from those, you can see there are these wings, which sort of give this thing an attack helicopter sort of look, and you can see there are some shields here from Nexo Knights used to sort of shape that, as well as one of these wing pieces in white, which is a bit of an interesting shape there. And connecting that was actually pretty interesting because it took me quite a while to try and get this compact enough to make it all fit together so that you could have the stud shooter and then also these like blade things on the ends to actually allow them to spin around. The upper wing pieces here can just be lifted up, and underneath you can sort of see the technique that goes into it. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting thing to build. Moving around to the back, you can see there's some additional detail, and of course the main sort of play feature, I guess you could say, with this engine here. This is the main engine. Now, as you would expect with a LEGO helicopter, you can of course take this engine on the back and spin it around, and of course that spins the blades on the top, which is of course quite a nice play feature. It's the main play feature with this helicopter, and I think that's pretty important, obviously, considering it's a helicopter. You kind of want the blades to spin on the top. So yeah, that's definitely a fun function. What made this really interesting, just from a technical aspect, is the fact that the blades, relative to the engine on the bottom there, are mounted at more than a 90-degree angle, which makes connecting them, at least in a sturdy way, pretty difficult actually. It actually becomes a whole lot easier when you realize that LEGO actually makes universal joints, which makes this connection much easier, because if we actually open it up here, you can see how it actually is put together, and you can see it's just two gears, an axle connected to that universal joint, with another axle going up through the blades here on the top. Basically allows you to spin the engine on the back and cause the blades on the top to spin, which honestly is pretty nice. And it works really reliably and actually quite precisely as well. So even if you're kind of going back and forth with the engine on the back, the blades translate that motion really well. And I was honestly quite surprised by that. But yeah, that's the technical part of this sort of helicopter. Let's continue on with the rest of the design. Now, taking a look at the sort of tail part of the helicopter, this piece is actually a lot more interesting than you would think, and just the angle that it's mounted. But yeah, you can see how it's sort of angled at this sort of subtle angle, I guess. It's not quite horizontal, it's slightly below, which is quite nice. And that's of course locked in place using a bunch of these hinges, as you can see. As we move along this, there's a little bit more detail. It's really just one specialized piece for the most part. And of course on the back here, you've got this adjustable sort of tail. The other side of the helicopter is identical to this side. Of course, the entire thing is symmetrical. So that pretty much wraps up the review of the Shuricopter. With that though, let's take a look at these figures in more depth. So of course, what would a custom set be without custom figures? And these ones aren't really custom, they're more purist than they are custom, to be honest, because they don't use any custom parts. But with that, let's take a look at 3 figures that I did make for the Shuricopter. First off here, we have Zane, of course, the pilot of the Shuricopter. That's kind of the point of the set. And this is my iteration of his Season 11 outfit, which is honestly fairly similar to some previous outfits, although it does have some new design touches, I guess you could say. And overall, I think I did pretty decently with this figure. Obviously, as just a LEGO figure without any specialized parts, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but overall, I think the overall look is pretty good here. Next up, we have Forbidden Spinjitzu Jay, and I don't know how much I really like this one, to be honest, mainly because he is sort of missing that glowy sort of effect on the top of his hood, which, you know, I mean, I guess it's what it is, because you really can't do anything without, like, custom molding a bunch of stuff. But overall, this figure is pretty straightforward, and honestly works pretty well. Lastly, we have my first custom of the Ice Samurai. This is General Vex. I assume he is the general by his name, but overall he's sort of the gray armored Ice Samurai, and he sort of looks decent. I don't know. I think this one could go either way. Personally, I'm quite happy with the use of Iron Baron's head here, mainly for the fact that he sort of has the same facial hair as General Vex. The helmet piece obviously is pretty accurate. The color could be bit different maybe, but overall really not too bad. And of course he does have this sort of spear, I guess that's what they are. He has this weapon, of course, that they all seem to have, with the sort of Forbidden Spinjitzu scroll actually attached to it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for General Vex. So overall, that's pretty much all I have to say for the review and showcase of my custom Shuricopter. This thing has been bit of an interesting project. I've been working on it basically since the preliminary pictures came out. That was like a month ago at this point. But yeah, with all the development of this project, yeah, it's been pretty interesting. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and definitely make sure to stay tuned for the upcoming videos on the other 2 Season 11 sets that I'm doing, and of course a bunch of other videos. And also, if you missed the last video, the Avengers Endgame mech thing, go check that out as well. And yeah, with that, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Goodbye.